My guest is Mark Weatherford, former Assistant Undersecretary for Cybersecurity for the Department of Homeland Security, and most recently and today, Chief Cybersecurity Strategist for vArmour. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, Richard.
So it's great to have you in studio and across from me, and you've joined a vendor of all things. Tell me what induced you to make a move like that, and what you're excited about at vArmour.
Well, I'll tell you, I was just telling somebody else this. A lot of my CISO friends are asking me if I've gone off the deep end, to join a vendor. But no, as I looked at opportunities and looked where technology was going, and really everything is moving to the cloud and to virtual world, their virtual environments, and vArmour we're right in that sweet spot. I mean, and of course, our CEO Tim Eads is very enthusiastic and helped me to make the decision to make the leap. It's very exciting. I've always been kind of a big organization guy. Being in a very small company that's developing technology the way we are is probably the coolest thing I've ever done.
Any learning curve aspects of joining a smaller organization?
Yeah, I've been in I have been in a couple of small organizations in the past, and I think the one thing that people coming from large organizations deal with is that the pace of things is much quicker. There's like almost zero bureaucracy. If you're introducing bureaucracy, it's because you feel like the need to do it, but there is no existing bureaucracy in a small company. So we're really able to be nimble and be able to react very quickly, which is just, I can't even emphasize how important it is when you're developing a technology product. You find something that doesn't work, kill it, move on to something else. And it's fascinating watching the evolution of how this happens.
And now you're on the other side of the table from the CISOs and CSOs. You used to be the CSO for the state of California. What are you seeing, from this new perspective that most vendors feel like they've got the answers and they just have to communicate them to get to the trial stage and the rest.
Yeah. Well, we've actually talked a lot about this, and I've worked with both our marketing and our salespeople about how do you do that. How do you approach and talk to CISOs, because as I tell these guys, and they've heard me say it far too often probably, I've heard 1,000 vendor pitches. I know exactly what I hate and I know what I love. And I want a couple of things. One, and probably most importantly, is I want to be able to trust you. If you ever lie to me, it'll be the last time, and I'll ruin your life. But being able to be perceived as a partner, as somebody who's empathetic to my challenges as a CISO, and be there for me as a long-term partner. If you're just there to sell me a product and walk out the door, I'm not interested in that. And every CISO I know has 1,000 things on his list. So when you get an hour of my time as a vendor, treat it like the important, valuable thing that it is.
So we should talk about vArmour and how it fits both that philosophy, because in the cloud world it really is that, right? You're partnering, it's all service-based.
Yep.
How's vArmour addressing security?
Well, I think first and foremost, we're a data center and cloud security company, and our expertise is really around helping organizations understand how they can micro-segment and use the advanced analytics that we provide to help them see, stop, and secure bad things in their environment. So fundamentally, if we can get our arms around that with a company, it's very easy to have the next level of conversations, which is how do we come into an environment, and how do we then take the vArmour technology and distribute it, and obviously a lot of very technical pieces of it, but it's very simple to do. And that's one of the things that our product team and our CEO have been very laser focused on, is we've got to make this easy for companies to do it. in the cloud security world, a couple things are happening. And a quick little anecdote. In 2009, when I was the CISO for the state of California, I gave a speech. And I said, this cloud thing is going to be big. We as a security community need to be paying attention to this. And I was actually chastised by some of my CISO colleagues after the fact that said, basically, over my dead body, am I going to put my data out into a cloud? Well, fast forward 6 or 7 years, I've been proven right on that. And so I think taking this philosophy to the CISO now and say, listen, there's a lot of technologies out there that are available to you in your security toolkit, but this cloud thing is new, and depending upon this vertical stack, what I call the vertical stack of security products, perimeter-based security products, to protect your data center and virtual environments. So, it's a very risky proposition to think that you're going to depend on a firewall at your edge to be your protection. So, one of the things we said, I don't remember what study it was, but about 20% of all traffic is traffic that comes in through the perimeter. That means 80% of the traffic that happens in a virtual environment is east-west traffic. And very few companies today are instrumented to be able to see that east-west traffic. And that really is where vArmour steps in. And we give instantaneous visibility, and instantaneous is a conscious use of the word. We give instantaneous visibility of traffic that's flowing east and west in an environment.
I've been really amazed at cloud security in general, in that, in my experience, new security platforms don't start to be successful or get deployed until well after breaches start occurring. And yet in the cloud, we haven't had these at least public embarrassing breaches of cloud security. Now, there's been some credential theft and all the rest, but this is the first time that I've seen security actually be an enabler, and that people aren't going to put their data into the cloud until they have some assurance that they've got the same controllability, and they're getting it. So this is kind of the heyday of security being proactive.
It absolutely is the heyday, and I'm going to go back and restate that there's a lot of shadow IT that is happening in organizations, and especially around the cloud. I mean, I can literally, and you know this, I can pull my credit card out, I can go to Amazon Marketplace, and I can buy a service. Mm-hmm. And a lot of organizations, that's happening, where the configuration management process, the configuration control process in organizations, to actually go through the bureaucratic process of asking for permission to go buy something or develop something, in many cases can be quite long. Well, developers and IT people, being the innovators they are, they're like, why should I go through that process when I can literally find it? It's available to me today. So vArmour, again, once we're in an environment, we're able to help identify a lot of this shadow IT, identify a lot of this, that's the application aware piece of our product. We can see a lot of the things happening that most organizations simply aren't aware of today.
Don't you love the fact that in most cloud deployments, you don't have the huge problem that you do in the enterprise, even the data center, of end users doing things, right? You've got the system administrators, but you don't have the user community clicking on things. It makes the job easier.
That goes back to that 80% of that east-west traffic. If somebody's already inside your environment, perhaps they don't even have, they don't have the credentials to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. You need some kind of a tool that can identify that. And again, that's another sweet spot for vArmour, where our distributed fabric is able to identify that application level and user behavior kind of processes.
Give me a feel for the type of customers that are already adapting vArmour.
Well, I think that's one of the more interesting things is, so we're deployed right now in 3 very large telcos around the world. We're deployed at 3 government organizations. We're deployed in retail, and we've had a couple. In fact, we have up on our website a healthcare provider that's gone all in with us, and we're at the stage where very, very quickly we're going to have, we hope very soon, we're going to have more customers than we have employees in the company, which, you know, as a startup is always a good measure of success.
Watermark, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of cloud deployments, the reason that companies do well in getting into security deployments is it's frankly very easy to deploy and secure. I'm a little concerned that that means the stickiness factor isn't there either, right? Which is kind of one of the detractors to a lot of security infrastructure plays is once you're in forever. How do you counter that, the threat of being displaced by the next guy?
As a CISO, and I can, you know, almost every CISO would agree with me on this, is I know what I need to do in my environment to secure my environment. I don't have the resources to do that. Always. There are exceptions, but most organizations simply don't have the resource, whether it's money, whether it's tools, whether it's people. And in a cloud environment or a hybrid cloud environment where you're distributing that workload to organizations that no kidding have skin in the game, it's their job to secure that. So you're distributing the responsibility a little bit to somebody who actually has more incentive in many cases to protect your environment than you do. As far as locking it in, I think that's always going to be a question. Nobody wants to be locked into one thing forever or ever. But quite frankly, in the cloud, it's easy to move around. I mean, it's not necessarily hard to change a cloud service provider. It's not as hard today as it was 5 years ago.
So, and here's a big threat. What if Amazon says, oh, security, let's do that, and starts turning on file integrity management, firewalls, and, you know, offers it as a bundled service? How does a company and how does the entire cloud security industry react?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I think that's going to happen eventually. There's no doubt about it. But I think customers want a little more control, and you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And the thing that I advise, you know, I remind people is you can distribute the responsibility, but you can never distribute the accountability. So if you put all your eggs in one basket and think that Amazon or any company is going to provide that end-to-end security service for you, you're probably putting too much faith in that. And quite frankly, we do see that a lot today. People think that when they buy a service, a cloud service, that security must inevitably come with that service, which, as we know, is not entirely true.
Mm-hmm. And you'll always have the multi-platform, because people don't want their eggs in one cloud environment, so they put them in multiple ones, and unlikely that Google, Amazon, and Microsoft are going to work together on that.
Yeah. Well, and I say, again, that's another one of the beauties of our product is it's distributed across a multi-cloud environment. So if you have an on-prem data center, private cloud, or you have, you know, a public cloud environment, we can distribute across that. And so policies that you apply against an application in your on-prem environment are the same policies that are distributed out to the cloud.
So what's the future of vArmour, or at least what's the near future? What's next?
Well, obviously, you know, we're growing. We want to be in every financial organization, every cloud service provider, and every ISP in the world. And I think the roadmap right now is getting there. I mean, one of the things that we've found is, you know, as we started on this journey to become a security provider, being in an environment, being in a cloud environment or a virtual environment where you're seeing all this east-west traffic, we've now realized that, holy cow, we have an incredible analytics platform where you can now see, you know, John is doing something today that John has never done before. there might be something to that. Or why are we seeing traffic going to a certain place at a certain time when we've never seen that application or that database or that platform sending it there before? That visibility into the analytics, into the big data that's happening, is really going to provide us, I think, with, it already is, it's providing us with another piece of the vArmour solution that companies find incredibly inviting right now. And so I think the bottom line answer to your question is we're just scratching the surface of the future of what we're able to provide a company. We're never going to be the end all be all. Nobody wants to do that. But I think we're going to see more and more usability for security organizations out of our product.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark.
Okay. Thank you, Richard.